off on the road with a Sky ban, saying we don't want to give this over to Tsunami. We've seen Araxi play the Sky. He's quite a good Sky player. He doesn't want any plays going, and Tsunami does take Adagio off.
Yeah, well, they are going to be leaving up that Samuel for G2, and they immediately grab that very quickly. So obviously they're pretty excited about getting that pick up. Now for Snow Tsunami, Krull is going to be available. We have seen Look At Me pick that one up quite a bit. And there it is, the Lyra alongside the Krull.
Yeah, this pairing is becoming quite popular since they did remove the Adagio. There was no chance for the double hill, not playing the same kind of mind game we saw in the earlier series. But that being said, I do like the draft setup so far. These tend to be pretty good synergistic heroes together. GT Esports trying to figure out how to round out this Samuel. They're going to pick up the Kestrel. Kestrel into Krull is really, really good. We know that once they get to mid to late game, Kestrel really controls that matchup.
It's just going to be a matter of if the Kestrel is in the jungle or in the lane, because we know that Dark Potato does prefer these sort of, the more tankier jungles, and Samuel's a little bit more survivable than Kestrel. But a Fortress as the last pick, this is a G2 sort of specialty. We have seen one other team run it as well, but G2 were the ones that said that this is something they really want to do, and a Scarf for the last pick.
Wow, these two teams are definitely going to be going neck to neck. One's early aggression, the other's late scaling.
Yeah, but that never really tells the whole story. I mean, if you look over at North America, for example, Velocity, who were seeded 6, made it all the way into 2nd place. So there's a lot of room for maneuvering here.
I think that says more about North America than it says about anything else, doesn't it?
Well, you could certainly make that argument, and I wouldn't complain if you did. Let's talk about the comps real fast, though, Sona, because what I want to really focus on here is Snow Tsunami, actually. I really don't like the Scarf. The reason I don't like it is because you're playing up against a Samuel and a Kestrel, who are both quite good at kiting, and you're encouraging them to run away from and kite from you, right? Because you've got the Krull and the Lyra. So I'm not sure Scarf can safely get into a good position to fight, especially with Fortress maybe being able to turn up the heat and just jump in. Do have a bit of an exchange at the jungle here.
Yeah, Dark Potato's going to take a little bit of pain. Look at me, he's going to try and chase him down. Imperial Sigil does give him the movement speed, and they're going to do a huge amount of damage to the Samuel already. Only level 1, Spectral Smite smites him down. Dingo low as well. And here comes Araxi Spitfire. Not quite going to connect on towards that Fortress. Redix in a bad position, but should be able to get away back towards his turret. One more Spitfire, we'll call it though. And there it comes. The Cisco with the auto from downtown takes the kill.
Redix should not have fired a Glimmer Shot there. He stopped because of it. He had to play the animation of the ability. That locked it down. Now Tsunami
from Snow Tsunami. Dark Potato does have that drifting dark though. Can he get away? I don't think he can. Get smoked away once again. Look at me taking the kill.
Redix wants to help out a little bit here. Look at me, he's pretty low.
He wants to fire those Glimmer Shots. Going to take a Look At Me down even further. Cisco trying to get away, and Redix and Dingo looking for the chase here. Look At Me is actually going to start up the tree end, which is a little bit greedy. Redix does have Glimmer Shot across the wall to try and steal it away, but Look At Me will be able to smite it down. And already, Snow Tsunami solidifying their lead. They're putting so much pressure onto G2 Esports.
Yeah, this is absolutely insane. This is the European Krull played at its finest. I feel like Look At Me knows what he's doing. He wants more.
They're using that heroic perk from Cisco as well to get the initial slow onto Dark Potato. Dingo takes some Spectral Smite damage as well. Look At Me not able. He was too many targets for him right there. Cisco almost gets it. Kill. The Fortress goes down now. Cisco trading into the laner here as a roam will be able to push Redix back. Araxi nowhere even near that fight, now comes back into the lane, and Look At Me said, excuse me, guys, can you look at me? I'm in your jungle, and I'm taking away your camps.
You know, it's interesting. When the camera was on Look At Me during that little interlude, it felt like he really didn't want people to look at him, but certainly in this game, he's making a lot of plays early on, backed up by Sasiska. You can see the pressure that a Lyra in the jungle especially can have, and Krull, a lot of his earlier game weaknesses are shored up by pairing him with a Lyra. You know, he can stick easier because you've got a slow and a speed up coming out of Lyra. You've got sustain so that if they do get distance and poke him down, he can get back up. Really, this is exactly the kind of jungle pairing that I think suits Snow Tsunami and is a very European jungle pairing as a whole. G2, I feel like their comp falls behind quite easily if they don't perform well early due to the Fortress, for example. They've got to be careful here.
I love the way Look At Me and Cisco are playing this. Actually, Cisco gives away their position slightly there. I wanted them just to wait for Dingo to push forward once again. He probably wouldn't have flared that bush. Redix now going to join the fray. Dingo looking to see what he can do on towards Snow Tsunami. Look At Me trying to get that heroic perk stacking once again, dodging out the Malice and Verdict by standing still. That's how you do it. If you stand still, the enemy always thinks you're going to dodge. It's next level tactics right there.
It's the mind games right here. G2 really struggling in the early game, already down 4 kills. You can see Araxi even rotating to help steal away these back camps. That does give a bit of a window of opportunity for in the lane Redix to take a few more creeps, or maybe actually go for some back camps of his own. This is a bold decision.
Incredibly bold.
I don't know if I like this too much. Araxi does spot him out here, already finds a Spitfire.
There's the goop as well, and Sasiska is going to join the fray. Redix will fall. No way of him getting away from Sasiska, who's 3-0-2 on this live already. Look at me putting the pressure down onto Dingo on that Fortress. Now, we didn't really talk about the composition coming out from G2 too much. How do you feel about this Fortress pick as the roam?
So we saw a composition similar to this from G2 on day 1, but there was an Adagio in place of the Kestrel. And to be honest, I feel like this comp is not even particularly close to as good as that one. Like, there are some elements of it which work nicely. Kestrel can actually tag team with Dingo when they dive sometimes, but against the Kroll, I think it's a bit risky. I don't know, I feel like the Oblivions really need to be good for it to work out, and because Dark Potato is very far behind, that could be a bit of a struggle.
That it could. I would have much preferred to see something like a Finn or a Lance alongside this composition. Gives you even more peeling for Redix on that Kestrel, and for the Samuel, means that you can engage a little bit better as well.
The other thing you got to keep in mind is when G2 played this composition previously, they played it into a Sky. An Attack of the Pack crushes forward barrage. It really ruins your ability to get damage down. Looking over at Snow Tsunami's composition this game, what is it really blocking out or being effective against? Obviously, it has utility just as an ability by itself, but it's not denying any power from Snow's composition necessarily. And I feel like they kind of need it to, right? Like, part of the reason why this composition works is that although Fortress is not a great front line by himself, the Attack of the Pack can be very good, you know, blocking some of these skill shots and acting as though he's a bit of a better front line. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like this composition is going to struggle. G2 has windows of opportunity where they have power, but Snow has kind of gone off to such a great start in the game that I'm not sure G2 is going to reach them.
Yeah, it's very difficult for G2 to get back into this unless they can keep away from that Krull. Looks like Look At Me's going towards that Shiver Steel. Araxi's got Shatterglass already in the lane, so he's not even caring about things like Broken Myth or Frostburn. He's all about pure damage on that Scarf.
We actually saw something really similar to this in the previous game again, and I'm going to keep referencing it because it's unusual enough, although hang on a second, Araxi.
Araxi needs to be careful. Drifting Dart comes out from Dark Potato. He even used the boots to try and get in front of the minion line there. Wasn't able to get the damage down, and Look At Me now coming in from the backside, going to get onto Dark Potato. He's slowed up. I don't think he's got many places to go apart from back to Sanctuary. He just about escapes off towards the side. Araxi will fall. Dark Potato takes some damage as well, but Sasiska and Look At Me not able to show up a kill.
Snow Tsunami, I think, could easily have killed Dark Potato there, but they felt like they already had, so they didn't commit all their resources to it. Araxi obviously stepping a bit too far forwards as well. G2 doing a good job to find some kind of, you know, a comeback into this game. But I want to talk about the Shatterglass on Araxi, because this is actually, you know, fairly unusual. We normally see things like a Broken Myth come out early on here. But against this composition where even the roamer is quite squishy for G2, it can actually be really effective at just quickly at the beginning of a fight without having to ramp up, bursting someone down. In addition to that, keep in mind that G2 actually has a lot of wave clear with their composition. Glimmer shots, as well as the Malice and Verdicts, can do a great job of shoving in the wave. And Araxi with the Shatterglass is going to be able to more easily wave clear against their Redix.
It's going to take a huge amount of pain. Principal Arcanum and the burn might be enough to take him out. He just about survives with that Halcyon Potion. Will keep himself alive for now. As we see Snow Tsunami around here, I want to just draw attention to an amazing scout trap they've got down just beneath the mustache bush on that side. It means if Redix uses the active camo, one shot, one kill will miss. You can just see it in the bottom of your screen there. If Redix uses active camo to try and get into the jungle, they always spot him out as he comes through there. It's absolutely beautiful positional play.
Yeah, I really like the fact that Snow Tsunami is being proactive with their vision. They're, you know, trying to push it up a decent amount. They know that they have fairly significant amounts of dominance early on here, just by virtue of their early game. So they're trying to capitalize on that. Araxi getting some good poke down. You can really see Scarf with the Shatterglass is actually very strong right now. More than maybe you'd expect, because Scarf is so well known as a late game hero. But part of that is the fact that he doesn't have to rely on stacking up. You know, he can just go in and do good damage early.
And you look at the health pools coming out from Redix and G2 as well. You know, 1,300, 1,200, 1,300 is not huge. Araxi's going to take a lot of pain, but Dark Potato is the target. He gets healed up with the fountain. Araxi just about escapes down towards the bottom side until that Fortress says he can't. And now Look At Me gets taken out as well. An awful fight for Tsunami. They waited around trying to get the turret for way too long. Sisiska is the final target here. It's going to be an ace for G2, a total turnaround.
Okay, so you hear people talk about upspeak sometimes, where you, at the end of your sentences, intonate up. But there I used it as a question mark, because I don't know what Araxi was doing there.
Well, let's have a look to see what he was trying to do.
I don't see a particularly good plan here. Maybe trying to snipe down Dark Potato a little bit, but missing the Spitfire. Okay, so he was trying to kill the turret.
Yeah.
Which, I mean,
happened.
Losing all of your team for a turret is not a particularly good trade. I don't know. I think
tell that to my rank team, Incredible Threats.
Oh, man. I mean, I feel like just throwing out a Spitfire at the turret instead of at Dark Potato, I think it was there, would have accomplished the same thing much more safely. So decision-making looking a little bit shaky from Snow Tsunami right now. That said, they're still in a fairly good position. They are behind on gold as a result of that fight. Off during that replay, G2 took a turret. But I don't think that tells the entire story. I really feel like Snow still has a bit of an advantage in the fights, at least for now.
Interestingly, Look At Me skipped the Shiver Steel and gone straight towards an Atlas Pauldron as his first item choice. Looks like Sisiska's building towards Crucible as well, so it's very odd to see an Atlas as a first item on anyone.
It is quite strange, but that said, Look At Me, if he's not able to get weakness stacks up on the heavy hitters on the side of G2, might be mitigated quite a lot. And actually, Look At Me, if he gets the Atlas Pauldron down onto Redix, is going to mitigate a lot of damage, because you have to remember, every attack counts for more when a Fortress is on your team, because you're helping pop those bleed stacks. Yep. So I kind of like it. I do feel like Redix is the bigger damage dealer at this phase in the game too, so most of the damage you're taking is weapon power damage. Dark Potato needs a while to ramp up on that Crystal Samuel. I still think that he needs a Shiver Steel though, right? Like, the only reason, in my opinion, why you wouldn't pick one up this game is if you're planning on playing very utility heavy for your carry, right? If for Araxi, you're kind of stopping Dingo. Hang on a second.
From Hell's Heart, Dark Potato gonna get pushed back to the ground. He's not quite ready to be mashed up yet, but he will get taken down by Snow Tsunami. They're looking to take the Treant and the back camps as well. Interestingly, actually, up until that point where they just got those camps, Look At Me hadn't got farm in about 4 minutes or so. He was sitting on 28, which is what he had for a very, very long time. So because they're always sitting in the jungle of G2 Esports, they're not getting their own jungle, which actually pushes Look At Me behind a little bit.
Who needs farm? Dingo might need a little bit of farm to buy some more tanky items right now, getting crushed by the damage there.
Too far forward there. The Dragon's Breath's going to come out as well. Redix just able to escape, and one shot, one kill will connect onto Look At Me as well. Dark Potato's joined the fray. Going to see if he can take down Araxi, who's trying to retreat away, but should just about be able to escape. Talking about damage, Spitfire there, 410 damage in one hit.
It does a lot when you have a Shatterglass early. This build is not common, but that doesn't make it weak. One thing I want to talk about is the composition from G2, in what situations it is successful, right? If you ever get a marginal lead in a fight and you can start chasing, it's disgusting. Fortress keeps you on top of people, Samuel has a lot of consistent damage, and Redix can position really effectively on the flanks, so that if Snow, for example, tries to re-engage, it's going to be difficult for them to do that safely. There's the Shiver Steel now onto Look At Me, a Broken Myth onto Araxi. This is a big power spike. I want Snow to use this right now.
Well, they're going to go for the gold mine. It's a good utilization of it. No vision around the area for G2 Esports. Of course, both these teams are fighting for their right to go into the semi-finals and get through to day 3 tomorrow. The loser takes that 5th, 6th spot alongside Mouse Sports, who we saw lose out earlier on in the day to Gangstars. Snow Tsunami will want to join their sister team. They'll want to get into the finals if they can for the 4th successive season. If they can do that, you have to put them up there with the likes of Team Secret, you know, consistently one of the best teams in Europe.
Absolutely. Redix, hang on a second though, he's getting stunned up.
Dingo as well will take a huge amount of pain. Look At Me needs to try and retreat away. Dragon's Breath comes out, one shot, one kill onto Sisiska, and they will be able to back away. Now Dingo pops the fountain to keep himself alive and keep Redix healthy for the chase. Dark Potato is going to push back a little bit because he doesn't know where Look At Me is. Going to jump onto Sisiska here. Lots of damage coming down. Arcane Passage, Araxi will fall. Dingo's going to see if he can go for the chase. Now Arcane Passage a little bit too late. Sisiska just about surviving. Corrupt Genius, not enough. Imperial Sigil, can he dodge? Can he duck? Can he dive? No, he can't. He will get taken out, and Dark Potato survives with the reflex block.
Okay, so look at me.
He wants it. He's going to go on to Dingo here as well. See if he can take him out. Didn't expect Dark Potato to be coming in from the bush as well.
Mistakes were made.
Look at me. Look at him go down. It's an ace for G2 Esports.
All right, so two big mistakes here that I want to touch on. The first was Araxi popping his boots and then ducking back into the fight. If he just kept his distance and the focus went on to Siska, he might have been able to keep some damage going down, maybe turn the fight eventually, especially considering that Look At Me was still fairly healthy. Second mistake, Look At Me trying to be a hero at the end of that fight. Really not the position that he needed to be going into. Samuel now has an Eve of Harvest. Dark Potato is going to be able to do a lot more in these fights to deal with the poke damage that's coming out of Araxi. I think things are getting a bit dicey here for Snow. I don't know if just the late game potential of Scarf and Kroll is going to be enough, because both Samuel and Kestrel are going to be doing so much damage in these next couple of fights.
Even Dingo is going to be doing damage on that Fortress as well. He's gone for an Aftershock. It's what we tend to see on Fortresses as a second item, or third actually, because he got it after his Atlas. Fountain Atlas Aftershock, incredibly tanky, so much strength with that attack of the pack. Bleed Stack's doing a huge amount of work as well. Really good against Kroll too, because he's going fairly tanky, and actually the percentage health damage from the Aftershock and the bleed popping can really crush through Look At Me on the front line. Siska, look at the poke that he's taking right now. He's got to be careful. Look at me, he's flirting with disaster on the front line here. Elixir picked up 4 Dark Potato, infusion on him. That crystal infusion going to be sitting is in his inventory for the time being, and see if he wants to pop that in a second. Broken Myth Stack starting to come up. 3 on Dark Potato, none popped at the moment. There's the infusion. They're going to look for the fight by Bulwark from Siska, but it's going to take a Malice and Verdict to the face. Look at that splash damage.
My God.
Look at me. Gets taken so low. The minion mine will fall, and that was just Dark Potato chasing in. Yeah, Dark Potato nearly solo killed Siska right there. You can see Malice and Verdict doing so much work. I really think that once Dark Potato gets one more item, it could be lights out for Snow unless they get the perfect flank engage or from Hell's Heart is perfect. Because aside from that, look at their lineup. They don't actually have a lot of hard crowd control, barring the stun from Kroll's ultimate. So they need to lock down 2 people in these fights to avoid damage. That's not going to be too easy. They got to find really good vision to allow them to set up for an ambush, I think. We have seen this work once before. You know, we saw Kroll standing behind Kraken to try and get that from Hell's Heart onto the right target, trying to get it onto the back line. It can work out if you use it effectively. Snow Tsunami going to take their own minion mine away once again to just push that wave back into G2 Esports. You have to feel that the next fight is paramount here. Whoever gets that fight gets the Kraken, gets at least a couple of turrets off it with that push, and can try and start closing out this game. It's only 3,000 gold the difference though. It's only 10% of these totals. Redix is going to step forward, then the one-shot, one-kill comes out onto Look At Me. There's so much poke damage coming out from G2, and they're not answering it with Spitfires coming out from Araxi. He's trying to get it down, but it's just not doing enough. We talk a lot about how Sustain is really good against poke compositions. It's one of the reasons why in the previous series we saw the Adagio and Lyra do so well together. The problem is here that there's too much poke coming out of G2. Lyra can't do enough by herself. That's the attack of the pack pop. Gonna go for the chase. Araxi, Oblivion there as well. It is blocked out by Araxi. Only Siska got caught up in that one, and now Snow Tsunami can just a look for the chase, put some damage onto Redix. Active camo's not going to proc. Araxi has full stacks of Broken Myth right now to 0 of Dark Potato, so if he went in quickly, that could have been actually a really good opportunity for Snow. Journey Boots just picked up onto Redix as well. Oh! From Hell's Heart is on Dark Potato. They're going to turn to Redix though. They have no vision. Look at me stunned up. Here's the Dragon's Breath. So Siska's going to do so much work. The Dragon's Breath as well. Look at me surviving for days. Dingo jumps back in just to protect the Dark Potato, who has to retreat away. All right, this is what I was talking about. From Hell's Heart, perfectly used by Look At Me. About a lot of time for Araxi to position well, get a big Dragon's Breath off. He had a lot of stacks of Broken Myth at that point, just due to the ambient burning damage on some of the other members of G2. This is what Snow Tsunami need to try and do in lots of these situations. I'd like to see Dark Potato be a little bit more proactive with the reflex block. Well, if that didn't happen, yeah, you know, why not, right? You bought it, might as well. Better to be using it than looking at it in your inventory when you're back at the Sanctuary. The good thing, however, for G2 Esports is unless there's an ace coming out from Snow, they really can't take too much because you've got the poke coming out from Redix and from Dark Potato. I really like that Look At Me decided to go for a Crystal Infusion instead of a weapon one here. If you've played any BRs with Crystal Power Kroll, you know how ridiculously big the shields you get off of your B ability can become, how useful the additional lifesteal can be. And actually, I think the Dead Man's Rush shield is going to be massive for him in these fights. Plus the cooldown acceleration, getting that more frequently can help when there's so much damage on G2. That goop is huge. Redix steps in, will pop the damage down. There's the one-shot, one-kill. It's only going to hit Sasiska. Araxi steps forward. Both these teams just eking around the edges of this Kraken. A couple of scout traps will be popped. Araxi is the one doing the popping. That's a brave move from a Scarf. Always able to be caught out here. G2 having to back away to the lane, push out those minion mines, push out those minions because of the 2 minion mines pushing in against them. And actually, Tsunami are going to start up the Kraken. Dingo around the corner. Does have 1 flare in his inventory. There it goes. Let's see if they can spot him out. Araxi not in the best of positions, has to try and get away. Only level 2 boots will be able to retreat away. That is the attack of the pack used. Dingo needs to pick up some vision right now. He needs to get something in his inventory, otherwise they're going to lose out this fight.
3 flares, 5 flares.
Definitely needed those. Those are so paramount. Sasiska's sitting on 2 of his own. He needs to see if he can get a couple more before this fight starts, just to be able to spot out that Kestrel when she goes invisible. Dingo caught in the goop. There's the From Hell's Heart onto Dark Potato. He has no place to go apart from into the oven. Dragon's Breath comes down. Dark Potato will fall. He's roasted down to a cinder. And now G2 have to try and fight around this Kraken. Have to see, perhaps, if they can stop Tsunami with this unstoppable push.
G2 are being a little bit too cautious for my liking. Their composition is really strong when you just run at your opponents, but they're not doing it right now. And I feel like if they're on point with their reflex blocks, there's no reason why they can't. They've only got one thing to really worry about, which is actually the From Hell's Heart, or maybe the initial Bright Bulwark. But yeah, it surprises me that they're playing so safe after going in aggressively has worked so well for them for so long. It's notable that Araxi has hit a big power spike with the Eve now. He is doing a lot more damage and sustaining through these fights, but you can't give him that opportunity to stack up, right? That's when Scarf becomes ridiculous in this late game phase. I also feel like you can see Tsunami's draft playing out quite nicely here. The difference between the Scarf and the Sky into the Fortress that we were talking about earlier is shining through right now.
Yeah,
these Spitfires are crushing when the initiation happens from G2, but that doesn't mean G2 should be deterred. They should just go for it.
It's the strength of having that Principal Arcanum as well to get the initial slow, so you can land the Goop, so you can land the Spitfire. It makes it so much easier for you, and now they have such a great composition to siege this turret. However, G2 do have a good Kraken taking composition. You know, they can force that down pretty quickly with Redix and weapon power, with Dark Potato as well, having that Malice and Verdict. The Kraken already down to half. It's only taken 1 turret thus far, and all of G2 left alive to defend it. Dingo takes some pain once again off towards the side. Kraken pushing in.
I really feel like, again, G2 should have just initiated, though, because now Araxi was able to stack up Broken Myth from the poke.
They're trying to take the Kraken down. There's the attack of the pack. They're looking for it. Look at me. He's looking for Redix, though, and he gets the From Hell's Heart. There's the active camo looking for the stun. Dragon's Breath comes out, but immediately cancelled with the Oblivion. What a beautiful sleeping dragon off towards the side for G2. Look at me trying to escape. All of Snow running to the winds now, and the Wolves take down. Look at me. 1 shot, 1 kill will not connect, but that Oblivion was gorgeous.
It really was. Araxi did not even try and reflex block it. If he had, I think the fight would have gone very differently. Yeah. But this is what I wanted to see from G2. Just pull the trigger, right? Go in, be threatening. Araxi had burned a lot of energy, consistently poking at them. I would have liked to see the initiation a little bit earlier, but it worked out for G2. They're back to a point where maybe they can try and defend, you know, maybe they can pick a few fights. They're actually 5,000 gold in the lead, even though the kills are even. And, you know, Tsunami seemingly has been ahead for a while now. This is the strength of farming well.
It's all on that farm. You know, you've got 20 farm ahead for Redix. You've got 30 farm ahead for Dark Potato. It's what we said. Like, look at me, 10 minutes in, had 28 farm. Since then, he's picked up 14.
I'd like to see him get a little bit more.
Yeah, just a tiny bit. I mean, it's not the main focus of their team. He's almost fully built anyway. But it would have been nice if by now perhaps he had a Tornado Trigger, or perhaps he had a Storm Crown, or, you know, just that little bit more just to help him do a bit more damage in these fights. Even a breaking point. He hasn't even got a breaking point.
One thing which I think is really interesting from Tsunami is that they've gone for double War Treads. Now, I like this for a few reasons. The first being that it allows Araxi to not upgrade boots early and just go for more damage, which he urgently needed for a large portion of the game. But in addition to that, I think whilst there's a good case to be made for other tier 3 boots for Look at Me, these help him stay on top just as nicely because he can delay the activation to after Sasiska's, for example, and still apply a lot of pressure.
1 shot, 1 kill, not quite connecting there. Malice and Vertex as well, dodged across the wall by Tsunami. Dingo's going to step forward. Redix just trying to push out that wave once again. It's a minion mine to a minion mine, so those minions are pretty even. in the wave. No side is going to push in more than the other, but with the Kraken on the cards, both these teams are looking for it. They want to take the first game of this best of 3. They want to start that ball rolling towards getting into the semi-finals tomorrow. Of course, the loser of this best of 3 does get knocked out completely. Snow Tsunami looking for a fight once again. Oblivion will only connect onto Sasiska.
Sleepy sausage.
Sleepy sausage, indeed. Well, Lima, reading from that book, obviously fell asleep. Hopefully she didn't leave the light on.
It was my science textbook from school.
Pretty sure it was your diary. Pretty boring life.
Okay, right. Nice one, thanks. All right, well, in any case, I know what I'm going to be writing in my diary today. Sona was mean to me.
What a shame. Well, Snow Tsunami looking to be mean to G2, seeing if they can take them down. Avaxi's taken a lot of pain. 1 shot, 1 kill is used. G2 looking for the chase. This is where you said they were great. AJ, they're going to look to see if they can get onto this Snow Tsunami team, but look at me's waiting. Doesn't decide to pull the trigger. There's the from Hellside. It hits onto Dingo, though. Dragon's Breath is used. Look at me's going to fall so quickly. He's going down incredibly low, but the fountain not quite enough to heal him up, and Dingo survives. So big here for G2. They're going to look for the chase. Imperial Sigil will come out for that movement speed. Stop chasing, indeed. Spitfire after Spitfire are landing, and G2 get the active camo right bulwark as well, but there's the first kill. Oblivion onto Araxi, but they can't chase it up. Dark Potato, no energy. Redix, no health, and Snow Tsunami are looking for the kill once again. Sasiska says hello. Redix gonna take him down, and it ends up being a 2-for-1 trade.
G2, that was so good, right? They went for the play that we wanted them to go for so long, and it worked really, really well. But at the same time, because they've waited so long, they do have to be careful of the fact that in an extended fight, if Look At Me is the target they kill first, the best play is to actually back off, heal up, and then take some pressure on the map. They just bit off a little bit more than they could chew here, and I think this is something they got to be careful about. Emotions are running high. This is an important game for the teams, as you mentioned earlier on, but you got to have the discipline to know when to back down. Really, this game is anyone's, though. You can see that G2, even though they've been struggling recently, can take good fights. Snow looking to pick up the Kraken here. They won't be contested unless a crazy one-shot comes out right after spawn.
Nah,
I doubt it.
I think it's going to go down before the one-shot can come out.
No,
possibly. Look at me standing in a great position to block it. No, it's not going to happen. Snow Tsunami will take the Kraken. Does connect onto Sasiska, was blocked out. Snow Tsunami get it. They can look for the push once again. Now, the last time this push happened, it didn't end well for Snow Tsunami.
Snow also need to be disciplined, right? I was talking about that for G2, but I want to see Araxi be a little bit more careful with how many Spitfires he's throwing out. Yes, he gives you a lot of regen, but you can still burn through your basic just pool of energy very quickly if you keep throwing them down. It does give you the advantage of building up broken myth stacks quickly, and if you're going to kick off a fight, that's great, but if you're not going to actually initiate the fight off the back of that poke, you should probably be a little bit more cautious with the use.
Has got Halcyon charges as well. Redix is looking for something here, seeing if he can get on to Snow Tsunami. Kraken pushing in, is going to take that first turret, 1 shot. 1 kill for the Kraken, and now Snow Tsunami are going to try and re-engage. 1 shot, 1 kill used, just zoning out Snow Tsunami there. The Kraken actually might fall before it even takes the second turret, which would be great for G2. Keeping those crystal turrets alive is incredibly important. Sasiska takes a lot of hurt.
Oh, the crit!
For it. 1 crit, 2 crit, and Sasiska is a dead sausage.
I thought you were going to go for is lit there.
That would have been better.
It would have. Next time, perhaps.
Yeah, perhaps.
All right, so again, Snow Tsunami push a little bit too deep with their Kraken, right? I mean, they had actually taken so much damage and burned quite a lot of their cooldowns at the point in which they decided to push into the base proper of G2. I don't feel like they should have. They should have just taken the 1 turret and been happy with it. But right now, things very even between the two teams. Dark Potato, I want to talk about his itemization real quick. He's now got Halcyon Chargers and Frostburn, both items that will help him kite a great deal. The fact that you actually have a longer sprint time with Halcyon Chargers can be super useful in these engagements, especially against someone like Look At Me, who hasn't gone for Halcyon Chargers of his own. You're going to get that extra distance off the back of the one more second.
That you are now. G2 starting to take their own objectives here, pushing the gold further in the lead. 7,000 their advantage, but a little bit of discipline, a little bit of awareness of how Snow Tsunami can engage.
I like it.
G2 back away, take the second minion mine, get that wave pushing up towards Snow Tsunami. And with everything on the line, G2 start to show their true colors.
Araxi has now picked up a Frostburn of his own. I think that's going to be quite useful because the winning strategy for G2 is like run it Snow, right? You just dive in with the additional speed from Fortress. You can close the gap quite quickly and throw out your Drifting Dark to do good damage. Notably, I also want to touch on the fact that Dark Potato did actually overdrive his Drifting Dark, which in this composition I like, but frequently do not. But returning to the Frostburn, I think Araxi made a good choice here. It's going to stop that quick initiation from G2 from being quite so effective.
Still only 42 farm on Look At Me. I just wanted to mention that. They're just not funneling farm onto him. Like, it's going on everyone else. And yes, he's got a Stormcrown now, so he's almost fully built. It doesn't actually really matter that much because of the passive gold he's getting from all the turrets, from all the Krakens, from all the objectives they're taking. But I just give him a little bit more, you know, give him a couple of farm here or there. Kraken has spawned. Snow, we're looking for it. Redix is the front line. And G2 have to be very cautious around this. Look At Me will take some pain from the side. Imperial Sigil, Dingo jumps in. Right, Bulwark is used. Dark Potato in a great position, flanking down from the bottom to push Snow Tsunami away.
You call that position great, but I actually don't like it that much. I feel like if
Why you're not vainglorious, man?
Well, you know, you're not either. But in all seriousness, I mean, I've said it before, I'd like to see them run in together. If they went for the initiation proper there, maybe it would have been fine. You can actually throw your Drifting Dark parallel to that wall and just fire them over. But because he was far away, I think it meant a counter initiation from Snow was possible onto Redix and Dingo.
Dingo's going to take a lot of damage from the Kraken here. Snow can try and bait this one out a little bit. Look At Me has to retreat.
Oh,
attack of the back. Siska takes a lot, but there's a From Hell's Heart on Redix. He pops into the active camo.
Dingo's burning.
But a great reflex block. Dingo is burning. Dark Potato too. Siska is so low, and already they've taken down Look At Me. Araxi has to try and retreat. G2 are doing it indeed. One shot, one kill. Dark Potato is going to try and chase it down on towards Araxi. Malice and Verdict are in the hearts of G2. They take the ace, they look for the turrets as well. 40-second timers on the side of Snow Tsunami. You have to think G2 with this massive minion wave will be able to take down those crystal turrets.
Yeah, I don't think even the death reduction on the turrets is going to do enough for Snow to defend here. They had a big lead for a long time, but G2 figured out what worked. They kicked off these fights very quickly, or in the case of that last fight, Siska kind of kicked it off quickly for them. The composition that did so well for G2 in day one has come back in full force. Yes, it was the Kestrel instead of the Adagio, but they made it work. I'm really impressed by this particular draft that G2 have cooked up.
It's a great draft, and it was great shot calling throughout the game as well. They realized when they were behind, they started to enforce a little bit more discipline across their team. They took the fights they could win and didn't chase too far. We only had one instance of where they went way too deep, and after that, G2 was saying, we need to stop now, we need to back away, we need to take it.
It's a little bit taxing, and well, got to make sure everything's in tip-top form.
Well, we are going to be actually already going through this draft very quickly. Adagio, Samuel banned away. Lyra first pick, a Kestrel, and another Fortress for G2.
Yeah, they definitely want to continue this kind of aggressive nature. I wasn't a super big fan of the Samuel in jungle with Fortress. I think that's one of the reasons why they struggled in the early game last time. He just doesn't take a lot of advantage of what Fortress does, but they were still able to pull it together in the mid and late game with the comp, so they're still feeling confident. We do see the Celeste come through for Tsunami.
Yeah, and the Celeste, that was actually a big pick that PT Lamb used to play all the time, but obviously he's not here, but it's still a pick that Araxi can play and has had success with, so we'll see what they round out the composition with. I would assume it's going to be a pick for Look At Me, and, well, there's the Krull.
The Krull does come in, so see the Krull and Lyra together with Celeste on the back line, Krull on the front line. So now it's going to be up to G2 to decide who can take the Krull down, or perhaps someone can get behind enemy lines to the Celeste and pass that Lyra, which is definitely not going to be an easy thing to do. And we do see the Taka come in, so that is the Ninja Stealth Assassin that's going to try to get through to the Celeste.
Well, I'm going to keep this one classy, but I mean, I have
really quite popular overall. Did play it quite a lot, so you can see that he's comfortable on the hero. I like the Taka as the last pick. Does potentially threaten Araxi on the back line. The concern for me is that Lyra is very good into Taka, right? You have a lot of jumps that can be blocked by the Bright Bulwark. Maybe Redix is the one more consistently able to get on the back line, if I'm honest.
I think the risk always is with the Lyra in this composition. Sometimes you see the Lyra being a facilitator for the Krull to get onto the back line, and you will see Araxi left alone on the back. And if you can have Dark Potato getting onto that Araxi, getting onto the Celeste from the side or flanking, something he's shown he can do in this live championship, he can do a lot of work. Oh, indeed, because Dark Potato needs to watch out. He's going to jump into the middle of Snow Tsunami here. They'll put a huge amount of pain down onto him. One Helio is all it will take to take him down from here, but not able to connect from Araxi.
I really liked that from Snow Tsunami. They kind of predicted G2 was going to do the same thing that they have been doing quite a lot, which is basically just going for an extremely fast clear, going into the enemy jungle quickly and trying to find a kill. So they rotated down Araxi from lane on that Celeste, and it made it so that Redix had to leave, couldn't maybe get as much farm as he would have liked in the lane. I think it was a smart adaptation in Snow Tsunami's game plan that G2 weren't necessarily expecting.
Great play by Snow Tsunami, and now we see Sasiska sitting in the lane here, going to put some pain down onto Redix. Those auto attacks do a huge amount of work this early in the game. Look at that. Absolutely pounding away at Redix as the Kestrel has to back away.
I admire Redix's gumption there, trying to trade with the Lyra this early, but it's not going to happen, buddy. You've only got a weapon blade. You haven't spent any of your money yet. Sasiska, on the flip side, has Principal Arcanum, which does a lot of work. Dark Potato and Dingo, they wanted to come up here and maybe...
Dark Potato just wants to farm, you know? He's just coming up. I'd like these CS, please, if I could take them away from you.
Polar opposite of Look at Me in playstyle. Look at Me not getting basically any farm last game.
Look at Me has more farm than Dark Potato already into this game, though, and actually Redix, with that push back into his tower, is slightly behind Araxi. Araxi going for that early light screen. Sasiska building up towards the fountain. It's what we expect. I think a big choice would be how Look at Me itemizes here.
I don't know about this build path from Redix. So he went for early tier 2 boots on his first back. Now, this does get him out of some sticky situations if a really hardcore gank comes down with Look at Me and Sasiska. But I would argue that maybe it would be better just to buy a kinetic shield, or even a light shield and some damage. Because the thing is, Sasiska, most of the time, isn't committing to kills. You're just harassing Redix away from the farm. Hang on, there's a fight, though.
Sasiska's going to take a lot of damage. Good core collapse onto Dingo. No way that Wolf was jumping any further, trying to get on towards the Celeste or the Lyra.
Yeah, so just revisiting the point real fast, I feel like Sasiska is just going to be sitting there laying down Principal Arcanum onto Redix, and in that situation, boots don't really do that much for you. I mean, they give you some health regeneration, I believe, but having shield would have been, I think, more useful. Plus, you're against a Crystal Power laner in Araxi's Celeste, so most of the damage you're taking, 90% of your time in the laning phase is going to be Crystal.
Speaking of Crystal Power and item builds, can you explain to me Dark Potatoes, please? Because he's got a 6 Sins, a Crystal Bit, an Hourglass, a Swift Shooter, and a Minions first.
Okay, so this is called the Bit of Everything build.
Like the buffet build.
It's like the garbage pizza. Have you ever had that before?
I've never had a garbage pizza. Okay.
I don't know. It goes by different names in different parts. But in any case, I actually kind of like it if you're going to be more aggressive than he's being. The reason being that Kaku's healing increases with the Crystal Power, and it can kind of help your hit and run. But I don't know.
That's the noise I made in my head when I saw it as well. I mean, there are options for him here. We have... Ages ago, we used to see Tension Bow Aftershock Tackers who went for pure on hit, tried to get the damage down. He could go towards that. He could be building weapon power and perhaps going towards something like a Storm Crown.
He has cooldown acceleration too, so he is really going for a bit of everything, notably not boots.
Yeah, why do you need boots?
Well, against Look at Me, who already has tier 2 boots.
Foxes have 4 legs. How many boots are you going to buy? You're going to buy 4 boots?
Slow you down.
4 boots is too many boots, man.
I don't know. I feel like the boots would have been the big difference.
Here comes Look at Me onto Dingo. They're going to put the pain down onto the Wolf. And he almost falls, just about survives off towards the side. Redix going to take some damage as well from Sasiska and Araxi, but will be able to keep himself alive for now. Dark Potato still farming up in the jungle. I'm so enthralled to see how he builds this Taka from here, because it's such an odd itemization choice at the start. We'll pop into the Kaku core collapse onto Redix. Here comes Look at Me, and first blood goes to Snow Tsunami.
Those tier 2 boots don't do you a lot when you're just straight stunned up, I gotta admit. Dark Potato as well, worth talking about him here. He was thinking about going in, even though Dingo had just backed to base, and even if it was him and Redix 2 versus 3, it's not really gonna pan out. Why isn't Dark Potato playing aggressively on the back jungle of Snow Tsunami, trying to steal away some camps, right? Like, that's the obvious choice. Also, the build is getting stranger
he sold
by the
Minion's
minute.
Foot.
So he probably bought that for the guaranteed crit it gives you, right? Because when you buy a Minion's Foot, it gives you a buff, which means you get a guaranteed crit on your next basic attack on a hero. I don't know if I would have done that. I'm very confused, Sona.
I feel the same. I think we're just going to have to leave it until he finishes an item because I have no idea what Dark Potato's doing.
It's got to be tension bow, right?
Yeah, we've seen some interesting Taka builds in our time. You know, recently we've been seeing a lot of tension bow Storm Crown as a build. That's been really strong. He could be going towards that. I mean, Hourglass does eventually build into Storm Crown. He has just finished the tension bow, so that's okay. We know what he's doing. We know what he's doing.
No, he
AJ.
does,
it's going to be fine.
He just bought attack speed.
It's fine, man. We know what he's doing.
Know what he's doing. Oh boy. All right. Well, G2 Esports hopefully have a better idea of what they're doing than us. Eve of Harvest already picked up for Araxi. We might see the fight.
There is the Express who's going to jump in. Good fight. Bulwark. Reddick so low. Gets taken out already. The fountain used, and now G2 are on the retreat. Gonna have to see if they can get away from Look At Me, who has the From Hell's Heart. Gonna see if he can get that onto Dark Potato. Decides he doesn't want to dive the turret. Another Helio connects, and that Taka is taking a huge amount of hurt.
I'm going to have to talk to G2 after this game. I want to know what's going on here because the build path of Dark Potato is very strange.
X-Retsu in once again. He's going to try and survive, but he's dead. Solar Storm comes in once again. Like, that, yeah, it just seems a little bit odd. It seems a little bit strange, but G2 trying, obviously, their hardest to try and get back into this game already. Snow Tsunami 3-0 up, 1,000 gold in the lead. Look At Me has almost hit his highest CS margin of the best of three. He's on 39, which 7 minutes in is pretty darn strong. He's got to stop after he gets the backs in the Treant, though. That's when you have to stop farming if you're Look At Me.
Yeah, and actually, I don't know if you know this, but jungle creeps count as more than one CS.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's increments of 40 gold, so technically he probably only has like 1 or 2 more camps to take down.
Oh, From Hell's Heart connects onto Reddix in the active camo. There's the attack of the pack, gonna try and keep Look At Me away, but the double stun with the core collapse is too darn strong, and Reddix gets taken down.
Okay, Snow Tsunami, they're pretty far ahead right now. I do want to talk about silver linings for G2, mostly the lack of them, as Dark Potato dives into his inevitable end. Yeah,
he dies. He dies once again. He needs to be left in a dark place for a little while, you know. At the moment, growing a little bit of mold. That's what happens when you leave potatoes out in the sun, just not able to germinate the way he wanted this build to actually germinate out. He's going towards the Aftershock as his second item, so it is that Tension Shock build that we used to see a lot. Don't see it quite as much these days, and I think you can see why looking at the state of this game.
Oh boy. Araxi, he's going for a Broken Myth next. I like that itemization when he's already got the Eve. I also kind of like the Eve against the Taka and Reddix. You know, early on, it's going to give him a lot of sustain. The energy regeneration to keep pushing out the wave, which is doing a good job of setting up kills for Snow Tsunami. Look at me, he's got a Shiver Steel, which is going to be big here because Reddix has not been able to really walk away from most of these situations. Yeah. So everything from Snow Tsunami makes like a huge amount of sense and is working really, really well, which I can't say for G2, but maybe they got some secret plans here.
I feel that they need a Crucible or Reflex blocks out of their team as well. You know, there is an Oak Heart sitting in Reddix and Dark Potato's inventory, so they're probably going to go towards the Reflex block. It's what they did last game as well. Dingo actually never picked up the Crucible, just went across towards the rest of his items, getting that coated plates, getting that Aftershock.
Allow me to play devil's advocate.
Yeah, go ahead.
What does a Reflex block buy you when you actually dive in and immediately die?
From Hell's Heart into Core Collapse. That's what a Reflex block buys you right there. Being able to block one of those, being able to get out of that double stun composition, which is all that Snow Tsunami are doing. They don't need to kill all of G2. They just need to kill one member.
That is true. I would certainly say that it might be difficult to execute on the Reflex block when there's so much more damage coming out of Snow Tsunami. Araxi's quite low on energy right now, so he's going to back away. Unfortunately for Dark Potato, no good opportunity to capitalize there. Looks like Snow's just going to steal away some back camps.
Talking about energy, actually, Araxi goes for the Eve of Harvest as his first item. Something we do sometimes see on Celeste because of the energy regeneration. Looks like he's just picked up his Broken Myth as well. So it's quite a strong early build for the Celeste, and because she knew she wasn't being pressured in the lane, and they didn't really need the extra damage output, she could go for that Eve first.
Yeah, it made a lot of sense. I think it was a good plan. Dark Potato, there's the stun.
Collapse once again. Dark Potato almost gets taken out. Solar Storm, dodged out by Dark Potato, but there's an Imperial Sigil right there. It's literally, you're standing next to it, man. How can you not see that? Look at me looking for the 2v1.
1 versus 2.
So much damage. He uses the Reflex blocks as well to make sure he doesn't get active camo stunned. He needs like 2-3 more auto attacks. There's the Spectral Smite, will take him out. Dingo can do nothing to stop that Krull.
This is a really disgusting game from Snow Tsunami.
It's dirty, in all honesty.
It really is.
I need to take a bath after this game.
It's hot in the studio. I really feel like G2 don't have a good avenue back into this game at this point. It's going to be relying somewhat on Snow to make mistakes. The onus is kind of on them to lose more than anything right now, because Dark Potato's tapered off at this point. Tension Bow not doing a lot at 10, nearly 11 minutes in, especially against the sustain that is on Snow Tsunami. The Aftershock, I actually think, is kind of a strange choice anyway. Like, even if you wanted to go for a Proc Taka build, going for Tension Bow into Storm Crown makes a lot more sense, because Aftershock against, for example, Araxi, who doesn't have that high a base health, doesn't seem worth it to me.
It feels like he built as if he was getting miles ahead in the jungle and never actually succeeded at getting miles ahead in the jungle. Perhaps if he'd been having a Tension Bow and Aftershock 7-8 minutes in, it could have worked a lot better, but at 11 minutes, it's really not paying dividends.
His Tension Bow is on time. The problem is that if I recall correctly, he didn't even have boots when he had the Tension Bow. So getting the procs of the Tension Bow off meant that he had to X-Retsu in, and when he X-Retsu'd in, the core collapse was there and he died. It was just a bit of an overcommitment to aggression for me. I feel like G2 needed to be more wary of what could go wrong. That said, they're looking for maybe a fight here.
But Snow Tsunami can draw them out around these objectives. Like, they can force the fight around things like the gold mine because they are so far ahead. 4,500 gold the lead. Going to put the pressure down onto Dark Potato. There's the From Hell's Heart. There's the core collapse. There's the CC chain. And Dark Potato has no place to go. Buried back underneath the earth as he goes back to Sanctuary.
That was rough. I mean, a reflex block for that one probably would have helped.
Oh, really?
You did see it coming
reflex
far
block
away.
would work.
Yeah, but the thing is, the earlier fights, I mean, it was really just look at me flanking and getting the From Hell's Hearts off from bushes.
Core collapse is blocked. Reflex block worked.
It did in that situation.
Solar Storm as well. Reddick's going to take a bit of extra pain. Good active camo stun. But G2 have no way of following that up. And look at me, takes the gold mine by himself.
He doesn't really need too much backup to pick that one up, especially at this point in the game with a Storm Crown, which is something we haven't touched on yet, but is something that's very interesting. Kroll's not commonly picking up that item. It doesn't do so much for them in the tankiness / damage departments, which in team fights is what you really care about. But I do kind of like it here. I mean, the cooldown reduction is going to be useful. Plus, in the fights, they're so far ahead that he doesn't really need to build more tanky or more damagey. He can instead build something that's going to be useful in the long run just for controlling the map. And with the additional gold he's getting from farming quite quickly, especially compared to last game, he finds an Atlas Pauldron as well, which is going to be great against both the attack, oriented carries on G2. 9 kills to 0 right now. Snow Tsunami is totally different look than last game.
G2 dominated the last game. A really powerful composition into Snow Tsunami, and now we see Snow Tsunami returning the favor, really. It's the best of 3, of course. Tiny payout there for them. Just to collect that baby gold mine. Sometimes you need just enough gold for a ring or something like that. Reddick's going to get stunned up with the From Hell's Heart, and here comes Look at Me. Reddick has no place to go. The Atlas Pauldron into Spectral Smite is absolutely huge. Reddick survives for a long time in the fight, but not for long enough as he does go down. G2 on the retreat once again, and Snow Tsunami pick up their 10th kill of the game.
I mean, there's not too much to break down with that fight. Reddick's, if he hit the reflex block, maybe there was a chance. He did not, though. Right now, Dark Potato trying to trade.
How do you trade into this? Look at me, Spectral Smites the turret, gains 460 health. Dark Potato takes a Helio to the face and has to back away. G2 just have no way of getting back into this match. Even if Snow Tsunami make 1 or 2 mistakes, G2 don't have the composition that can actually capitalize on that.
In all honesty, this is the point in the game where G2 start thinking about the next game.
Yeah.
Like, they are so far behind right now. They're massively behind in gold. They're also compositionally behind. Celeste has hit her late game way too early, and Dark Potato is not a hero well equipped to deal with her, especially against a Lyra. I feel like you need to start thinking about moving forwards in the series. And also Minion Candy now on Siska. This isn't something we see a lot of, but I think it's going to be big here. Helps him push.
There's the flare to spot out Dark Potato. Will he be able to get into that Kaku? Just about, but gets taken down too quickly. It's ridiculous, it really is, Action Jackson. 11 kills to none, 7,000 gold the lead. We're only 15 minutes in, and already Snow Tsunami are looking to close this one out. I think they'll just push up this wave and then go back towards the Kraken, because they can take that down incredibly quickly with the Celeste and with the Storm Crown on the Krull.
I think, unlike a lot of the games we've seen today, 1 Kraken is probably the ticket here for Snow. I don't think they need much more than that. There's not very good capabilities on the side of G2 to kill a Kraken pushing into their base, and if they try and pick a fight, Bright Bulwark stops the engagement and the damage just absolutely obliterates them from Araxi. So G2, their only hope here, their only silver lining, their only opportunity is to go in whilst Kraken's being taken, as far as I'm concerned. And they're not doing that.
Well, speaking of the golden ticket to victory, Dark Potato's build here feels a little bit like a recipe from Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Hodgepodge all over the place. Not quite sure what he was deciding to go for. I mean, yes, he got
It's more like Birdie's every flavor beans.
Or just one bit of everything, yeah. You're right. Well, at the moment, G2 looking more like a chocolate frog than a Vainglorious team, but can Snow Tsunami close this one out and take it to the best of 3? Core collapses used, Reddick doing a great job of kiting around it. Then comes the fountain as well. Look at me, we'll be stunned up, but the Solar Storm's going to connect, as will the From Hell's Heart, and Reddick should go down. Dingo low, Dark Potato low as well. Snow Tsunami, massive health bars across all of them. Dark Potato trying to do what he can, but even in the Kaku cannot escape from Snow Tsunami. I think this is going to be the game. I think this is going to be us going to a Game 3. The final game of the series will be played out here between Snow Tsunami and G2 Esports. Snow Tsunami actually with a perfect game here against G2. This is truly sending a message to G2. They need to take a moment, they need to reevaluate, and they need to fight up against the force that is Snow Tsunami.
All right, you know, I don't like to be too harsh when I'm doing analysis on these teams, but the big thing for me here was just Dark Potato picking Taka into a Lyra. He didn't go for the back camps, which I think he should have done with this build. I feel like there was just some really big mistakes from G2. Snow Tsunami capitalized on them perfectly, so credit to them. But in that last fight, for example, you saw Araxi 1 versus 2ing Dingo
On top of a pile of money.
Oh, well, that's true. Well, one might say that person might be greedy. The person going home just might be grouchy. But we do get into the third draft today of G2 Esports versus Snow Tsunami. We do see the Lyra coming off on G2 side and Samuel coming off on Tsunami side. So these are not surprising picks in bans in this phase of the game. And of course, the Adagio first pick for G2 Esports, securing that priority that a lot of teams really like to lock down.
Yeah, Adagio first pick up there. Hopefully for G2, it'll be able to be a lot more effective than their previous compositions. But Lance going to be going over Snow Tsunami. They really haven't played much of this hero.
Yeah, they really haven't, but Lance is a powerhouse hero on the early aggression side of things. Even if they use him in the roam role, we don't know where he'll be. It actually looks like it might be the roam Lance, because we do see the Krull coming in for Tsunami as well.
Yeah, Krull once again for Look at Me, 3 for 3 in this series to be picking up this hero, hoping that this time it won't be a dopey pick for them.
Yeah, I definitely do agree. We only have
one more
2 picks left, so Sky comes through on the side of G2 Esports. I do think this is a pretty good pickup if she can get to the late game, but the problem is Lance and Krull both do so well into her. They think the Arden is going to be what it takes in order to close out their comp.
Yeah, Arden being a great delivery system for the Gift of Fire from Adagio as well, and the ability to keep allies safe and the movement speed and manipulation. There's going to be a scarf coming through here. Maybe with those Spitfires, could be considered sneezy.
Of course, tenuous is the word I was going for. G2 and Snow Tsunami about to hit it onto the Halcyon Fold. It's 1-1. It's the final game of this best of 3. The winner goes through to day 3. The loser goes home with nothing.
As Sona would say, I feel like they're magnanimous. Anyway, let's have a look at these compositions real quick. I kind of felt like Snow Tsunami were looking at the Scarf, so I like the Arden because that is something that can pressure a Scarf quite nicely with a Gauntlet, for example, until Araxi gets himself a good reflex block, or potentially even still if Dingo manages to get one that's nice enough. I also like the Sky, as Fuji was saying. Seems pretty reasonable here. I feel like it can do a lot of damage to the front line of Lance and Krull, but it is worth noting that especially in the earlier stages of the game, if an Impale comes out of Sisiska onto Dark Potato, things could go very, very badly for Sky. This is a matchup we've seen so much of during the Evil 8 season, and it is one that historically Lance has been very favored in, at least early on. So we'll have to keep our eyes on that. Things kicking off, not too interesting though. You can see G2 this time did not go for the aggressive play in the jungle. Snow Tsunami did make the rotation down expecting it, but G2 called their bluff.
Dark Potato deciding to go down the Crystal Sky route here from the jungle. Expect to see a Shatterglass first from him. That's his preferred itemization choice. I think perhaps at some point he does need to pick up that Frostburn as well, just to be able to kite back a little bit more from that Krull who's going to be advancing towards him.
You know, I would have actually preferred to see a Weapon Sky here, if I'm completely honest. I feel like this is going to be better if they reach a late game stage because he can maybe 1v1 Araxi. but I don't feel like they needed to play for late game. I mean, they've got a buff composition if they wanted to go for it with the Sky and the Adagio, and I feel like they would have actually been able to do a good job of trading early and pressuring early had they gone for it.
G2 have adapted so well here. They split up. They knew Snow Tsunami were going to come in as a 3-man, try and look for the early aggression, and now they're going to try and collapse on them themselves. They've done a superb job of reading Snow Tsunami's map rotations, reading where they were going to be across the Halcyon Fold, and now Sasiska is paying for it in the form of a lot of hurt on towards that health bar. Here comes Araxi as well, though. Dark Potato joining the fray with that forward barrage. We have to push them back, and both teams will just back away for now.
Some poor coordination perhaps from G2 Esports right there. Redix decided to throw most of his damage onto Look At Me and actually delayed attacking Sasiska as a result. Yes, Sasiska is very tanky right now, and yes, it's going to be hard to kill him, but I feel like he's the one you should have pressured there. Just because Look At Me was so far away, he was safe already. Also, Dark Potato a little bit too far back. Here comes the trade though in the lane.
Good impale from Sasiska. I feel Araxi was going to be incredibly hard up trying to escape from that one if the impale had not connected from that Lance, and it's the strength of Lance, you know. Adagio not incredibly mobile, very easy to lock up, very easy to read a lot of the time as well. The problem's going to be, as we get later into the game, really which one of those roamers is playing better, because you can Githyan wall someone out of a gauntlet, you can knock them back. If you get a good Vanguard off, you can keep them away from an impale, you can try and rejoin the fight. There's a lot of strategic play between these two roamers.
I am a little bit concerned for G2 as we move forward, because Look At Me, if he's able to get good weakness stacks onto Dark Potato or Redix, it's going to shut down a lot of the damage that G2 have, and Araxi can play relatively safely on the back line, especially with a Lance backing him up with Githyan wall. It's going to be hard for Dark Potato to, for example, jump onto the back line with a Suri Strike and feel safe doing so. Dingo, the saving grace here is that Vanguard can get him in there and kind of tag team with Dark Potato, which might give him an opportunity. We'll have to see if they can execute on that. So far, build-wise, nothing is really standing out to me too much. I like the fact that Dark Potato picked up some early Pierce. I think that's going to be very good against Sasiska and Look At Me early on, which is a very tanky jungle duo, so getting some Pierce early actually helps a lot with your damage. But Sasiska's spending a lot of time in lane. They're not really fighting in the jungle that much.
Also means that Dark Potato is more likely to go down towards the Broken Myth rather than a Shatterglass or a Frostburn. I think Broken Myth first on Sky, you know, it's all right. It's not, in my opinion, the best utilization of a jungle Sky, because you need to hit that power spike when you get the gold, because jungle gold is so much harder to obtain. You want to be getting that Shatterglass first, but if you can get that Broken Myth and get the stacks up, it can work incredibly well.
Well, to a certain extent, I mean, they're leveraging the kind of playstyle that they've been going into just by picking Crystal Sky at all, right? Like, they're looking towards more of a late game build.
Oh, definitely.
So going for a Broken Myth early could just be his preferred path, because he doesn't want to go Shatterglass at all. Maybe he wants to go Broken Myth into Eve, something like that. So, I mean, I kind of understand it. I feel like if he wanted to try and fight early, sure, Shatterglass would be great, but I think against the tankier members of Kroll and Lance, it could be hard to do that.
That it could. Minion Mine's going to be taken here for the side of G2, and Redix very far pushed up.
Oh boy.
Here come all of Snow Tsunami. Redix gets impaled, gets taken out. Snow Tsunami get first blood.
Bye-bye. Redix, yeah, that was a little bit too far up the lane. No real vision coming out of G2 yet to cover his path there, except for further back. And I don't know if I like that further back scout trap where Dark Potato just walked. Look At Me, he's actually looking for a little bit more right now.
Death from above will come down just to cut off the fight there. Look At Me couldn't chase any further. I feel that perhaps if Dark Potato had positioned that a little bit closer to the Mustache first, they could have got a lot of damage down onto that Krully. Would have had to run back through that Death from above or keep chasing, and then he would have been very split from the rest of his team.
Araxi went for a Frostburn first. That's intriguing. I feel like, yes, Dingo is going to get slowed up by that, and that could be good, but I don't know if I like it too much against the Sky, who can just Suri Strike onto you after she's slowed up. Here comes the fight, though.
There is the Impale missing off towards the side. Death from above is beautifully placed, and Look At Me will get incredibly low. Great Githyan wall will knock back too, though. Sasiska is sacrificing himself for the good of the team here. Araxi needs to run away. Sasiska impales, tries to get across the wall. Araxi now caught out with the forward barrage. Has to try and retreat back towards his turret, but Dark Potato will chase him down. And 2 kills over to G2.
You said Araxi needs to run away. I think he needed to run away much, much earlier, to be completely honest. Yes, you have the Frostburn, but he didn't have much energy to slow down Dark Potato. And exactly as we were talking about before, the Suri Strike forward negates a lot of that slow. You can still close the gap as long as you get at least one basic down. It's part of the reason why I'm not a huge fan of the item in this matchup. Redix is also never really going to be someone who's in range to for the Frostburn to be good, at least for kiting, maybe for catching Redix out, which we might see here.
Look at me trying to get on towards Redix, put the damage down if he can.
Oh!
Gauntlet gets stunned out there. Was that the from Hell's Heart? Point blank range onto Dingo to stop that Gauntlet actually connecting, but they don't get the kill.
He didn't actually get stunned though. I think it might have been the Githian wall because
No,
Dingo
it was
doesn't
from
have
Hell's
a
Heart. It
reflex
was
block.
used. Githian wall was not close enough. It was 100% from Hell's Heart, but because you stun them out of an animation, the stun doesn't connect.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. It's been a long day here. But let's take a look at what items are coming out here. Araxi just picking up some more crystal bits. Sasiska has finished up a fountain. Dark Potato has the Broken Myth completed now, which could be quite big. Snow Tsunami very boldly, I would say, going for this gold mine. They've got some good game sense, maybe anticipating that G2 Esports backed away.
They take it incredibly quickly as well. There it goes down. When you've got a Krull with that Spectral Smite, when you've got the Scarf there as well, you're always going to meld away objectives incredibly fast. Absolutely beautiful play there by Tsunami. Great game sense, as you say, AJ.
Yeah, I really feel like that was a tough decision to make if you didn't have a concept or an idea that G2 had backed off to base, which was what they had done. Maybe there was a flare which I missed, perhaps, but I'd like to think that maybe it's just Snow having those spidey senses tingling. Look at me. I want to talk about his build real quick. He's gone for early tier 2 boots, has a reflex block already, which is actually kind of interesting because there's not a huge amount of crowd control that he's wanting to deal with. Maybe he just wants to make sure he can get through a gauntlet wall.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing.
But this has slowed down some of his other builds, build items. You know, he's got some attack speed, but not as much. Oh, Redix!
Heart, Dark Potatoes around the corner. There's the Impale. Dragon's Breath's going to come down as well. Lots of damage on the Redix.
Oh, the
gets
burst!
knocked back in. Gets taken out as the burst connects. And look at me, incredibly low. Will get taken down by Dingo. And G2 trade a 1-for-1 against Snow Tsunami.
That was really close to being very bad for G2, but because the first connected, it actually was fairly okay. It was a 1-for-1 trade, and Dark Potato, I think, is going to do a much better job of harassing here. He has so much more damage with 3 crystal bits and a Broken Myth compared to a Frostburn and 1 heavy prism. So Araxi's got to be quite careful.
Sounds like the name of a boy band, doesn't it?
Which
3
one?
crystal bits and a Broken Myth. Be a great little boy band.
It could be all right. I'd be the Broken Myth.
And then Forecourt, Tasty, and Fuji would be the 3 crystal bits. G2
Don't break my heart like you broke my myth. That'd be the single title track.
Very nice.
First album.
Well, thus far in this series, we've seen from Hell's broken hearts, we've seen broken minds, we've seen broken lances across the Halcyon Fold, and at the moment, one of these teams is going to have their dreams broken because it's only a best of 3. We're in the deciding game, and the losers are out of the EU Live Summer Championships. So Cisco looking for some damage here. Look at me. Is there. The Impale will land. Araxi is there as well. The Goop not in the best of positions, but here comes the Gauntlet. Look at me. Does get stunned up. He has to run straight through the death from above. And now Dingo, the target for Snow Tsunami. Dingo's going to take a lot of pain. Great knock into the wall. Dark Potato had no place to go and gets knocked away with the Githian wall. Now Redix trying to kite around. Redix will fall. Can Redix turn it around? Look at me, seeing if he can rejoin the fray. Sasiska gets away. After all that action, only 1 member falls on either side. Both these teams so tight at the moment.
Dark Potato Surrey striked next to a wall against a lance. That was really questionable.
A lance
obviously,
with a heavy steel as well.
Yeah, that I feel like that was super risky. But what I will say is that Redix did a great job of standing his ground and fighting towards the end of that. Snow Tsunami probably should have just taken 1 kill and been happy with it, but they wanted to have their cake and eat it, unfortunately.
And that's a recipe for disaster indeed. G2 looking to see how they can play out this game. 600 gold ahead here. Redix sitting on about 89 CS, slightly ahead of Araxi. Dark Potato 67, slightly ahead of Look at Me. It's small advantages here and there, but Look at Me is looking for the chase. There comes the start of the damage. Impale's going to land as well. There's the block, but the From Hell's Heart 2 seconds away. That could be the deciding moment in this game. If they take down Redix there, they can push Dark Potato there. From Hell's Heart, there's no reflex block. They're going to go on to Dark Potato. They're going to take down Dark Potato, and that's another kill for Snow Tsunami.
Dark Potato probably shouldn't have contested there. He doesn't have a reflex block, so it's quite difficult to make that work. Look at Redix. So damage! What is that?
Melted! Redix has to back away. Dingo now there forward as well. The fountain is healing up Araxi, and Redix and Dingo are going to try and fight off Sasiska off towards the side. Look at me, he's coming in a long way away, but he's a 100-meter sprinter. He's a Usain Bolt of the Halcyon Fold, but not able to connect onto Redix or onto Dingo. That's what happens when you give people an advantage, you know? 50-meter advantage, Usain Bolt's not going to catch them.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. He does sprinting, so he doesn't actually go that far anyway.
Araxi has no place to go, so Siska jumps in with the Impale. All the time, look at me, he's actually starting off that gold mine. Burst will come out, so Siska will get taken down, and it's 2 quick kills for G2.
I would like to see Snow Tsunami play this a little bit slower. I feel like Redix has hit such a huge power spike just off the AC plus a bit of additional damage, and Araxi is so squishy that if they fight in a poor position, they're just going to get obliterated, even if it's, you know, without Dark Potato, as we saw in that exchange. Later on into the game, Redix is going to have a really tough time against Araxi. Araxi can just sit on the back line, spitfire through the front line, and potentially take him down, and it's not as if Look at Me and Siska need to dive the back. They can mostly just provide peel for Araxi. So, yeah, I'd like to see them take it a little slower. Before the cinematic, we did to see 2 Shiver Steals picked up, 1 on each side. I like that in this matchup because both compositions have a backline that they really need to protect, and on the flip side of that, you know, both compositions have a backline that one another wants to dive onto and slow down. So Shiver Steals make a lot of sense here.
So Siska is building, well, he's got his fountain, he's got his tier 1 boots, and now he's getting a Sorrow Blade. This is an aggressive Roam Lance build.
It is, as is going for the Shadow Glass here from Dark Potato. I would have maybe preferred Eve. But if he can get onto Araxi, this could be massive.
That it can be. I think Gift of Fire can sustain him up a little bit throughout the fights as well. Doesn't always have to be too concerned about the energy. Snow Tsunami positioning around the gold mine once again. We saw Look at Me starting it up before the last team fight. Wasn't able to secure it, of course. Now, what I'd like to see as well coming out from Snow Tsunami is perhaps that War Treads. They're going to step forward. Redix is there. He's going to spot out Siska as he steps ahead. There's the From Hell's Heart. Reflex block has been used. Look at Me trying to connect with the boomerang toss there, but not going to be able. Gauntlet does come down. Siska caught out. Decima above. Look at Me. He's going to take a huge amount of pain. Dark Potato is onto him now, but he gets the Spectral Smite. And Look at Me survive. Githian Wall was huge. Here comes the Dragon's Breath as well. They're in a pressure cooker, but the burst is coming down as well. Araxi will get fall. Look at Me and Siska just trying to get away, trying to escape with their lives. Look at Me needs to get away, doesn't get the tree end. G2 gonna chase him down, gonna take him down as well. One more auto attack is all he needs. I don't think he's getting away from them too quickly. There's the Gift of Fire. Look at Me, still running, still fighting for his life, trying to ride the Snow Tsunami wave away. Does actually have a slight movement speed advantage here on G2. Gonna keep going for it, gonna keep running. There's the flare. He's wasting flares. That's 25 gold that they did not need to spend to chase him down. Oh, Dark Potato here to ruin the party.
Why did he use From Hell's Heart?
It's a 20-second cooldown after he dies. Like, it's not huge.
It depends on what Snow Tsunami does right now. If they push, if they go for Kraken, which is in 30 seconds. I don't know. I feel like using that was not required. But G2 with a very solid fight. You saw moments where maybe Snow looked like they could come back. The problem is Araxi doesn't have enough damage yet. He had a great Dragon's Breath opportunity, but the damage just wasn't there. He's Frostburn, Broken Myth, and he has a Void Battery on top of that. It's not as if he's built into a ton of additional crystal power. If he'd had this Infusion, for example, very, very different story. I also feel like although there was good peel to begin with, not being able to actually kill Dark Potato quickly is a bit of a problem.
Huge.
And I think, you know, we were talking about Storm Crown on Krolls last game, and Bacon mentioned picking it up early. This is quite a late one from Look at Me. I feel like he would have been better served by maybe a breaking point here.
Spitfire. There's the Impale as well. Dingo's going to take a lot of pain. Githian Wall, they're just trying to target down the Arden. There's the Gauntlet use. That is huge. Snow Tsunami can back away for a moment, wait for that Gauntlet to fall, and then look for the re-engage.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, because Kraken's up right now, burning a 70-second Gauntlet cooldown is pretty huge. It's a big way for G2 to initiate a fight. Probably one of the only ways for them to hard initiate a fight without kind of encouraging Snow to go in.
Redix isn't there. Dingo's not there. Dark Potato's not there. Kraken's going to go. G2 are going to be Kraken lacking as Snow Tsunami take it down.
I think G2 backing away there was really risky. They've given away a Kraken for free as a result. I think they could have probably stood their ground and still fought just by virtue of the fact that Dark Potato and Redix have more damage than Araxi right now. You don't necessarily need Dingo to be doing that good as you kick the fight off, especially because he can regenerate a lot of health with his heroic perk. Right now, though, Kraken pushing down onto these turrets, Snow looking for something.
That they are. The first turret will fall. Dark Potato is the target. Redix! Got double Githian Wall. Here comes the Dragon's Breath as well. Redix is going to get taken so low with the fall.
How's he alive? How's he stay alive!
Redix survives! Look at me up towards the side, has to run away. Snow Tsunami get melted away by G2 Esports.
That was ridiculous. Redix with the fortified health from just channeling Verse basically survived there. That was insane. I honestly have very few words to actually go deeper into that one. It was just so close. If Redix had died without Verse going off, that was 800 damage less on Araxi. That's like half of his health. I mean, it's huge.
Freaking mental, I think is the way I would describe that. It went from 0 to hero in the space of a couple of seconds. Redix surviving, having that Aegis, having that broken mist, having that alternating current, keeping himself alive. The fountain helped, of course, from Dingo as well. And Dark Potato able to clean up the fight. He's got his Eve now. Araxi, however, has now hit that 3-item spike on Scarf.
It's notable that gold-wise, that was not a particularly good trade for Snow Tsunami.
No.
I mean, they didn't get gold from the initial Kraken take, because you don't, right? G2 did get it for taking down the one after the push, and they picked up a kill. So they're not feeling too bad. 2 kills, and Snow didn't get a kill in the initiation of that fight. They just burned Dingo's ultimate. So, yeah, I mean, really, G2 can't be feeling that unhappy. Losing 1 turret at this point, probably not a huge deal, but look at this. Snow Tsunami, they're thinking about going for a flank here. G2 does not have good vision.
Yeah, I don't think that scout trap spots them out. Look at me, he's going to chase forward. Gauntlet use again. Snow back away. Just back away now, and they can re-engage the fight. There's the death from above. You know, the from Hell's Hot Story onto Dark Potato. Here comes the pressure cooker. Burst comes down, though. Redix, 1,000 damage onto Araxi. Absolutely melts him away. But look at me, still alive. Sisiska's still alive.
Araxi needs help right now.
Everyone is still surviving. Araxi has fallen, and the rest of Snow Tsunami are starting to get swept away. The tidal wave is no more as G2 Esports take it 12-4.
This is kind of the problem with running double threat with one frontline comp into one threat with double frontline comp, right? You get into situations where the double frontline of Snow Tsunami can't actually deal with both the threats because they have to protect their own, whereas you saw Dark Potato having free reign in the fight because Redix was the main target. This is really problematic until Scarf maybe hits actually 4 items and has better positioning than that fight.
I don't like calling out item builds. I don't like, players know much more about how they want to play as a team than I do, but not having a gauntlet 18 minutes in on Snow Tsunami is weak. They do not
Crucible.
I mean a Crucible, sorry, not a gauntlet. Not having a Crucible on Snow Tsunami is weak at this point. That Verse is doing 1,000 damage. How can you not be itemizing against that?
I've got to admit, it's a bit of a mistake, I think, but Dark Potato getting engaged.
Well, there is a gauntlet on G2 as they put it down. Dark Potato is the target. Redix is trying to join the fray. He's popped those boots. Look at me, not being able to stick onto Dark Potato as he'd like. Dingo is now going to be the target for the rest of Snow Tsunami. They turn. There's the Verse again. Look at me, takes 600 damage.
Araxi's safe, though.
Triple Githian wall. Araxi up towards the side, going to try and take down Dingo, who's so tanky. 1 member of Snow Tsunami falls. 2 members of Snow Tsunami falls. And the 3rd might fall soon after. It's like Humpty Dumpty on the wall as Snow Tsunami fall off one by one. Araxi looking to escape. The Frostburn will slow down Redix, and G2 not able to crack that egg quite yet.
Okay, so there's 2 people on the side of G2 with Aegises, and that's reducing the damage Araxi is doing by a tremendous amount. He needs just more at this point. The problem is because he's the only threat as well, and look at me, hasn't gone for like a breaking point. There's no additional threat. It's all down to Araxi, and even though he was untouched during this entire fight, I mean, look at this. Fountain popped when he was still in full health because look at me required it. He can't do the damage. You need to have just that little bit more. Araxi's looking for a Kraken steal, though.
The Kraken comes out. There is
Dragon's Breath.
There's the Dragon's Breath. Araxi doesn't get it. Redix takes it down now. Araxi in an awful position. It's not going to be able to escape from Dingo and Redix, who are just going to sit on top of that Scarf. They'll take him down with the forward barrage. And G2 Esports get the Kraken, they secure the kill, and they're looking for the win.
That's got to be such a stressful situation, though, actually, for G2 Esports, because when this Dragon's Breath and it's just damage over time that you can't really predict or, you know, it's not telegraphed, you just have to hope that you deal the last hit. This is an important moment, though. Araxi's down for a while, there's a Kraken on G2, and Snow Tsunami have already lost a game. This could be the first time they don't make it to semifinals in a very long time.
Absolutely huge for them. They might get knocked out on day 2 here of the EU Live Championships. Of course, we already see big name teams going through. One of the Snow sister teams already through. Avalanche, of course. Gonna see big teams fighting up against tomorrow. There's the gauntlet. Look at me. He's got caught out with a death from above. He's going to go so low. He's almost going to go down. Survives with the fountain. But G2 V2 with the Kraken are pushing in the crystals. Redix takes some damage off towards the backside. They're going to look for the kill on towards him if they can. They need to take him down. Impale comes out from Hell's Heart.
Oh, nice one.
Araxi takes a huge amount of pain from Dark Potato. And has to get chased out. He will survive. Redix still alive.
Kraken's still healthy.
Kraken's still pushing in. Redix is going to get taken out. Dingo fighting V2. Araxi trying to take down the Kraken. Dark Potato is looking for the crystal.
He can get it.
V2 can get it. There's a best of 3. They're going to take it 2-in-1. He'll take down Araxi. Can they slow down the Darkest of Potatoes?
It's not enough. Kraken's still too healthy.
He's a Jacket Potato and he'll take down the crystal with the Kraken. G2 Esports go through to day 3 of the EU Live Summer Championships.
You know, it might be the Summer Championship, Sona, but snow is falling here on day 2. That said, I mean, yes, Avalanche did make it forward, but Snow Tsunami, a mainstay of day 3 of the finals of championships, aren't actually going to make it this time. This is unprecedented, and really, it speaks